Hi! So today we're going to find the area of the shaded region of figures. If you haven't taken out your classwork papers yet, it's really important that you grab them because, as you can see, I'm not the best artist in the whole wide world. So it's much better if you follow along using the appropriate graphs and the appropriate charts on your paper. So it's much better if you follow along using your images that are on your paper as opposed to what I'm drawing on the board. So let's start with the first one. Now, if you notice here, I'm asking you for the area of the shaded region. Well, this kind of looks like I cut something out of a box, doesn't it? Or cut something out of a square. So I have a big rectangle with something cut out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the area of my big rectangle and then take out what I cut out, the area of this smaller rectangle on the inside. So let's find the area of the big rectangle. And notice how I'm labeling it because I want to make sure I know what I'm doing. So the area of the big rectangle, well, how do we find the area of any rectangle? We multiply the length, or 12 meters, by the width, which is here also 12 meters. What do we call a special rectangle that has the length and the width the exact same? That's right, it's a square. So we have the area of the big rectangle. It's 12 meters times 12 meters, which gives us 12 times 12, 144 meters squared. And if you don't remember, whenever we multiply a unit times itself, it's that squared because it tells us how many times we multiplied is that number up top. So all we have to do is 12 times 12, which is 144, and meters times meters, which is meters squared. So we have the area of the big rectangle. Now, we need to find the area of the smaller rectangle, the one on the inside. Area of the small rectangle. So, same idea. Length times width, or base times height, or length times height. However you want to say it, it's fine. So we're going to multiply 1 meter times 10 meters. And that gives us 1 times 10, which is 10. Meters times meters is meters squared. So, let's think about it this way. If I was painting a room and it had a window, am I going to paint the window? No. I can take out that much of what I'd be painting. So, I'm going to take my whole wall, 144 meters squared, and I'm going to take out or subtract the window, the 10 meters squared. And when I do that, I have 144 meters squared minus 10 meters squared, giving me 134 meters squared. So the area of the shaded region is 134 meters squared. Now, as a teacher, I can tell you that whenever I have this much work on a page, I think it's really important to make sure you box your answers so the teacher doesn't think that 144 is your answer or 10 is your answer, that she knows that your answer is 134 meters squared. And again, units are super important. So let's try another one. But in the next one, if you notice, I took out 2 squares, not 1. So I'm going to erase this one just so we have this room to work. Let's take a look here. Let's talk about our big square first. So the area, sorry, it's not a square, it's a rectangle, of our big rectangle. And just like before, we're going to have A represent area. So the area is 8 feet times 6 feet, which gives us 8 times 6, which is 48, and feet times feet, which is feet squared. So the area of the big rectangle is 48 feet squared. Now, we need to find what we're taking out. But the cool thing is, if we actually look, we're taking out two of the exact same thing. So if I find the area of one of them, I just have to take it out twice. So the area of one small square. So I have area is 2 feet times 2 feet, because there's two of them. It's the same, it's a square. So 2 feet times 2 feet, 2 times 2 is 4, and feet times feet is feet squared. So the area of one small square is 4 feet. So now I'm going to ask you, what is the area of both small squares? So if one is 4 feet and the other is 4 feet, both small squares, 4 feet squared, is 8 feet squared. So that is what we're taking out, because we have to take out two different squares. So we're going to take the area of the big square, which is 48 feet squared, and we're going to take out the area of both small squares. So you can either take out 4 feet squared and then take out the other 4 feet squared, or you can write it as 48 feet squared minus the 8 feet squared, both of them together. And what's 48 minus 8? That's right. It's 40 feet squared. So the area of the shaded region is 40 feet squared. Now again, just like before, I have so much work on my page, I want to make sure my teacher can find it. Box those answers. Okay, let's do the last two together. I'm going to erase the board and redraw. And so now that I've redrawn the problems here on the board, we can see it looks like I got a little robot face here. So what is my big rectangle? So my big rectangle actually ends up being a square. It has the dimensions of 8 centimeters by 8 centimeters. And that would tell me that bigger portion of what's being shaded in. So 8 centimeters times 8 centimeters, well, 8 times 8 is 64. And centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. Now, this is going to require a lot of work. So we're going to have these first, the eyes. So I'm going to write down the eyes because the dimensions are the same. And that just helps me know what I'm doing, because this looks like a mouth, so at least I know I'm talking about the eyes. So how do we find the area of the eyes? Area of one eye. Well, the height is 2 centimeters by the length of 2 centimeters, giving me 4 centimeters squared. So area of both eyes is, well, if one's 4 and the other's 4, well, that means they're total 8 centimeters squared. So we have the big rectangle and we have the eyes. Now let's just do the mouth and then we'll do our subtraction. So let's look at the mouth. How do we find the area of the mouth? It is 6 centimeters times 1 centimeter, and I have 6 times 1 is 6. Centimeter times centimeter is centimeters squared. So if the whole thing is 64 centimeters, 64 centimeters, and I'm taking out the eyes and the mouth, so I have 64 centimeters squared, and then I'm taking out the eyes, and I'm going to take out the mouth. Whoops, I went into the other part. So we have to do 64 minus 8, And that gives me, I need to borrow from the 6, make that a 5, make that 14, giving me 6. 5 minus 0 is 556 centimeters squared, just for removing the i's. And now I'm going to take out 6 centimeters squared, and 56 minus 6, I feel like we all know, is 50 centimeters squared. And just like I said before, whenever you're working, you should box or circle your answer so your teacher knows where to look. So that's problem number 3. If you notice, it had a lot more parts to it than any of the other problems we've done before. So now for the last problem on the worksheet, we're doing problem number 4. So I've erased the other question just so that way we have the space to write on the board. And in the last problem, if you notice, I made it a little more straightforward for you to end it on a positive note, and it has one rectangle with one rectangle cut out of it. So let's do our big rectangle. What is the area of the big rectangle? So we have 10 inches times 7 inches, and 10 times 7 is 70 inches squared. And that's the big rectangle. So now let's do the small. Wait a minute, it's not just a rectangle, but if I notice the length and the width are the same, so I'm going to write the small square. So the area of the small square, and that is 4 inches times 4 inches, which is a total of 16 inches squared. So if I'm finding the total area of the shaded region, I'm going to take the big rectangle, and I'm going to subtract from that the part that I'm taking out, the 16, the small square. And that gives me, I need to regroup, I have to put it there. So 10 minus 6 is 4, 6 minus 1 is 5, so 54 inches squared. Okay? I hope that went well for you. I enjoyed teaching it to you. And please, please, please do the practice worksheet that you have. It's posted online or your parent can print it for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.